Okay, I'd like to call to order this February 28th Public Works Session Action Meeting of the Mahwah Board of Education. Would you please take roll call?
Yes. Mr. Kaczmarski.
Here.
Ms. Conoco.
Here.
Ms. Mavritish.
Here.
Dr. Morthy.
Here.
Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Yes.
Ms. Zaccone.
Here.
Mr. De Silva.
Here.
Mr. Gallo.
Here.
And Ms. Barron.
Here. Adequate notice of agenda of this meeting has been provided to the Ridgewood News and the Record, specifying that the Mahwah Board of Education will meet on February 28th, 2018 in the administrative offices, 60 Ridge Road, Mahwah, New Jersey. A copy was filed with the township clerk. Dr. Morthy, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Would everyone please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to recess to executive session? Mr. Wendrikowitz, second by Ms. Conoco. We should complete executive session by around 7 o'clock. Thank you all.
Table goes. No, not yet.
We have a motion to reconvene. Ms. Conoco, second by Dr. Morthy. Superintendent's report. Dr. Schoen, do you have a report for us this evening?
I do.
Thank you.
I do. Good evening, everyone. Let me begin first and foremost by saying that the safety of our Mahwah students and staff is critically important to all of us. And while I'm an educator and an administrator, I'm also a parent who is concerned for the safety of our children in these times of unrest. I believe it's critical to provide a safe learning environment in which our students can learn, in which our faculty can teach. And while the events of the incident in Parkland and prior in several other districts have shined a spotlight on safety and security in our schools, it is now and has always been very important to us. You are all here tonight for a variety of reasons, whether it be questions about the timing of district communications over the past week. Why didn't you know earlier that the district had been investigating a variety of potential security issues? How can we improve that? And most importantly, what are we doing as a district to protect students and staff when the majority of you drop your students off each day to be in our care? Although the variety of reasons you are here tonight is important, the main reason you are all here, and one that we can ultimately all agree on, is to receive information on what we, as a Board of Education, are doing in consultation with our police department to keep our students and our staff moving forward safe. Since the tragic event in Parkland, Florida, there have been numerous threats of school shootings and bomb threats that have made us question the security of our schools and how we can ensure the safety of our students and staff. Here, too, we can also agree that local and national news reports are disturbing to all of us. They are absolutely frightening. Our Mahwah Chief of Police, James Batali, was quoted in North Jersey Record article yesterday stating, Historically, if you look after any mass shooting, there's a peak in not only threats, but fake calls. The threats eventually drop off, Chief Batali went on to say, but for frightened parents and students in the waiting period can be filled with nerve-wracking anxiety that tends to perpetuate the false alarms and the panic. This is exactly what we're experiencing now. This happened this morning as a student in our district did not want to come to school. And if it were not for the comforting words of his parents and our nurturing and loving staff to ease any fear he was having, he may have remained at home. Our administrators, teachers, and support staff have been amazing during this period of recent events and have provided above and beyond love and normalcy. Part of the safety and security is helping our students feel secure and know that they are loved. We sincerely thank them for that. Since the Parkland, Florida incident, there have been 15 such threats of shooting up schools and bomb threats in the state of New Jersey. Many of those have occurred in nearby local communities, as I'm sure many of you have heard of in the last few days. We get it. We want you, we need you to know that. It has always and will always be important to us. I've spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to say this evening, realizing that what I say in my position as superintendent on behalf of our Board of Education in regard to the safety of our students and staff will be held on to deeply. So I decided that I wanted to begin by sharing some indisputable facts. Number one, we as a school community and community at large are blessed with an outstanding police department under the direction of Chief Batali. The safety of our schools, our students, and our staff have always been a priority, and that's been evidenced through their ongoing collaboration with school administrators, extensive monitoring of our school facilities, and their 100% commitment to attention that's been demonstrated for our staff and students by officers who truly care. We're grateful for the protection of our police department has given us in the past, the incredible oversight over the last week, and what we know will continue in the future. Thank you, Chief Batali, for making us your priority. Number two, it is also indisputable that our Board of Education, our administration, our teachers, our support staff, our town council, and our mayor care deeply about our students and staff. Number three, social media is difficult to navigate as a school district. With so much information being uploaded, and with much of it partial or inaccurate information, we often find ourselves in the position of trying to set the record straight. I would ask for your assistance with this, in not beginning the dissemination of or perpetuating the posting of inaccurate information. Instead, call me. Reach out to administration first. We will not hide. As you all well know, we called a great many of you back personally in regard to concerns you sent us or calls you made. While we may not be able to provide all the details, we can at least try to head off the posting of inaccurate information. While we're talking about social media, I am devastated that some of our students have been vilified in posts due to recent events. These devastating, hurtful, and downright insensitive comments are indisputable and, moreover, saddening. What is also indisputable is that we are entrusted with the care of all of your students. Those students who are at the center of attention, who also have parents who are concerned for their own child's welfare, just like you are concerned for your children. We must always remember that. We have presented a great deal of information in regard to the events in our district to our staff and to our parents. Unlike the onslaught of social media postings, the information we have shared has been accurate and concrete. At no time was there a credible threat to our students and staff. And yes, we could argue this evening about the timing of that information, should parents have been notified in October of this unsubstantiated threat. Should we not have sent something out on Friday, the night before a 4-day weekend? And should we have provided you more information in that Friday email communication? Yes, we can argue whether or not it was enough information or too much. At no time was there a credible threat to our school community. I further think we can all probably agree that the horrible event in Parkland, Florida, and our communication to district parents on Friday night ignited an inferno of question and doubt. We cannot change what has occurred in Florida, nor the timing of communications at this point. We cannot change whether the communications were too much or too little. Arguing these points will not serve us well over time. It certainly won't resolve our concerns moving forward. It's over. What will serve us well is moving forward together with open communication and continuing the dialogue we have always had with law enforcement about student staff and safety. Many parents I have spoken to over the past week believe we, in consultation with our police department, are providing a safe learning environment, and we are grateful for their efforts. However, there are other parents, like I'm sure many of you here this evening, who believe we should do more. We agree. And although we continually review and practice our safety procedures and drills with students, when it comes to the safety of students and staff, that conversation must continue. We can always do more. I have read social media postings, Facebook postings, and the most recent emails through the security email account that we set up. I have read the good, and I have read the bad. We have many safety and security procedures in place. We have 249 security cameras covering interior and exterior areas throughout our district schools. We have 57 panic buttons located in undisclosed locations in our schools that once push, notify the police department immediately. We have emergency procedures in place. Those procedures we review with staff often. All staff are provided with emergency handbooks. 2 emergency drills must be conducted by law, a fire drill and a non-fire emergency drill every month. We conduct those. We also include modified lockdown drills, regular lockdown, and active shooter drills. All exterior doors are locked during school hours. Visitors are vetted at the front door and are asked 3 questions. What is your name? What is your child's name? And what is your purpose? This information is verified in our real-time system before we allow entrance into the building. 2-way communication at all times is available to alert police through a 2-way communication system or a walkie-talkie. Our principals carry them and travel with them at all times. Daily walkthroughs by our police department. Meetings throughout the year with our police department. Adult supervision at exterior doors during arrival and dismissal. Fob access for our staff at main doors, back doors, and side entrances. A 1-call system available to alert parents. Classes are escorted out for recess by a paraprofessional or a teacher on the playground. Visitors are asked to sign in and wear a visitor's pass. Administrators are visible and participate in morning arrival and dismissal. Staff wear school ID badges, as do our substitutes. Since February 15th, we have instituted the following security measures within our district. We now have live video feed to our police department. So at any point we can contact the police department, they can access the video feed and see inside and outside of our buildings. We have conducted and have an evaluation of cell service in all of our buildings, and beginning this Thursday, Resolution 15L, we will have an interior cellular enhancement system installed at Lenape Meadows, so there will be cell service in an 80,000 square foot building. We created an email at Security Info, which occurred and you saw in my last letter. We have increased with the police department building walkthroughs by our police officer. And upon the recommendation of Chief Patali, both of us met with representatives of SwiftReach, a Mahwah-based company to work on the near future implementation of SwiftReach K-12 in our school system. Among other useful tools, SwiftReach is an extremely quick notification system that can go out with a touch of a button to multiple groups. And we've also spoken to Captain Jaffe in regard to continued security assessments of our schools. In addition, either through personal phone calls, emails to me directly, or through the newly established email we have for security, we have already received numerous recommendations that include the following: armed guards, metal detectors, bulletproof glass, having our students use a fingerprint scanner each time they enter and exit our building, door jammer, change doors so they open in instead of out, rubber door stops, random locker searches, eliminate backpacks and use clear backpacks, an assembly about see something, say something, Kevlar blinds, have a police do a seminar on gun safety, kids punch a code to gain access into our building, have students only enter one door, do random backpack locker and desk searches, use double door security, school magnets for door jams are among the few. I can tell you that conversations regarding these suggestions are beginning to occur, will continue to occur with our Board of Education members in collaboration with our Mahwah Police Department. The decisions to implement any or all of these recommendations will come only after complete evaluation by our board, the Mahwah Police Department, and our administration. As I've already said, we have and will continue to work closely with the Mahwah Police Department. A major strength of our Mahwah Police Department is a 25-year member of the department, highly trained Captain Steve Jaffe. We are grateful for his knowledge of our schools, having sent 4 children through our system and having lived in our community for 25 years. We're happy that he's here with us tonight, and with that, I'd like to introduce Captain Jaffe.
Try not to use the microphone. Move around a little bit.
I have one if you need it.
That's okay. We'll see what we can do. So, I appreciate you being invited here tonight by the Board of Ed to discuss this with you. Obviously, it's a heightened time, an important time, and it's good that I let you know what we've been doing, and I appreciate that Dr. Schoen mentioned since, and it sounds to you more recent, but I also want to clarify with you, this has been a long time, not reactionary. Listen, I know I'm a parent, I've been in the town for a long time, I'm concerned about these things too, I take it very seriously and passionately for a long time. But I want to make it clear, these aren't knee-jerk decisions, right? This is me speaking from our law enforcement perspective, and I want to remind you that in 1999, right, we all heard of Columbine, we're talking now at Parkland. In 1999, most of us know the horrific story of Columbine. It changed the way things were. It embedded itself into the educational environment. That was like our first kind of jaunt into that. With that, a lot of measures were taken, but I will tell you, because I was in the Detective Bureau and I've been assigned to Juvenile Bureau before that, we had a crisis manual since 1999, which is basically this right here, okay? Which is an all hazards approach that the discipline, it was initiated by the Board of Ed, and Ira Ostocker, I think I was pronouncing nice, Ira, was employed with the school district and created, he wanted an all hazards approach post-Columbine that wasn't just for armed intruders, it covered multiple doctrines. We were the first school district then. He invited the police department, the fire department, hazardous material, all a variety of different people there. They established that book, which I'm not going to show you and put through it, but it covers everything. Wind, storm, power failure, hurricane, obviously bomb threat, armed intruder, okay? A variety, it's a tab. And with it was a best practices approach for school administrators to quickly assess, mainly when I say that, principals, okay? It was what we call like an SOP now. That was there in 1999. I was part of that. I mean, I was aware of that. We were as part of the school. As Dr. Schoen said, just so you understand, when I'm involved in it now, that was back then, for approaches, so that kind of carried through a few years. Before I got involved more intently, captain since 2003, I got a lot of training, because in 2006, it's important to understand what my role has been in it since, very, very actively, 2006. Not from 2 weeks ago, not just last year, very actively since 2006. I had the opportunity to become the executive officer. We all know after 9/11, there were a lot of initiatives like everything, like how this is stimulating things. And one of the things was UASI, which is an acronym for Urban Area Security Initiative. It was New York City, New Jersey, the tri-state area because of a terrorist attack like that, creating, again, best practices, changed the way we did it, more terrorism response. They had come to our continent, right, in our country, so it was different. I was asked, there's a Bergen County, there was a New Jersey rapid deployment team, which at the time was a concept throughout New Jersey of a force multiplier made up of various levels from 60 to 200, depending on the size of the county. I was the executive officer, basically like a deputy chief, the second in command. I was invited to do that as a Mahwah officer, because I had been on an original rapid deployment force back in the 90s. That was the first of its kind, and I kind of had been familiar with some people in that practice. With that, very important to Mahwah, I got the opportunity to go off and get very intensive federal funded training to become part of that rapid deployment team on an all hazards approach. So I attended, and I'm certified as a tactical commander for weapons of mass destruction, 40-hour course, given years back from Louisiana State University. I went on and I've done risk and threat assessment certification. Also, by the Department of Homeland Security. I'm certified to do that. I attended and certified from the New York Police Department as a critical infrastructure consultant. I go into critical infrastructure. That was through NYPD. Other multiple courses through NYPD. I continued various bomb response, bomb threat response, multiple terrorist doctrines, soft target approach. These I'm giving you to understand. So with that, the benefits of going, I came back in my early training with that, and some of these were past that, where I read that book and it's like anything. It shouldn't stay static. It wasn't that the district wasn't doing anything. It's sort of like, okay, this is what was left with that component. Took a more hands-on approach of times change, some things needed to be revised, and reached out through different administrations and started back in 2006 at that point saying, let's revisit what our plans are. They're great. We're ahead of the curve. No one had them. It was not legislatively mandated back then. This was something Mahwah was cutting edge with having them. So I brought those principles to that and also adapted with that to be able to start talking to the principals, getting more involved with the schools, talking to them about the plan and how to respond to that. That wasn't always part of it, right? Because in all fairness to them, they're educators. It was a different concept to them, very hard to grasp. They have many concerns, but they didn't really have to worry about that. I was that nudge, okay? Not that they didn't, I was the nudge to say, let's do more, let's get more involved, let's change some of the procedures, which we did, and we adapted at that time. That was with Charlie Montesano, and it was with Janet Donahue, who had been a high school principal, was through it, became the assistant superintendent, and I had a lot of vigor and passion saying, I need access to talk, let me start talking to principals, let me start dealing with them all. Because it's great to have a manual, but it's only as good as you know how to use it and why are we doing it, okay? Because that was it, the best approach as we could within the constraints that they had. And we've been ramping it up ever since. It's continual. It gave me access since then, started teaching staff, which was not done. So many of you may not know, and the students may not know this. And quite honestly, a lot of what I'm saying now, and there's a camera here, I will only be limited to tell you. I'm here to let you be a different face other than reading it in an email or a letter. I can tell you clearly what I'm doing, the approach, but I'm not going to give you specifics. You know, particularly because I'm concerned about cameras, right? This goes viral. Why would we point out weaknesses? I would say that later to you when we go to speak. All right? Social media, when you point out weaknesses, it's better to send an email than to post it on social media. I'll give more of a blunt approach to this. If we talk about that, you've now just put it viral. Like we said with anything, bullying, harassment, anything you don't want, remember 10, 20 years from now. I just want to, before I move forward, remember that as well and be limited that I'm not skim coating anything, but I'm not going to be specific with you. But since then, started dealing with the principal, making recommendations, we changed. Been doing this for over 12 years now, teaching staff. Started early, it's hard. They have an educational environment. They have certain credit hours. They didn't have limited capacity. I started going to staff development day. They give me time. Understanding, getting the embrace to, let's talk to the teachers too. Okay, but I also limit somewhat to them, to the level of what a principal knows. But they gotta know why we're telling them to do these things they do, which I won't get specific on, okay? Which ultimately lead to what you probably know more of the term lockdown. We developed what's called the modified lockdown, which is unique and wasn't around years ago. We adapted, saying we need to adapt and have that, and then it became the norm. We were doing this years ago. And after this last 6 months, I've been doing this for over 12 years with the staff, and it continues. I do scenarios, which are students, we hear all the time, right, my kid tells me they don't do anything, they don't know. Unfortunately, they really won't know. We'll tell the teachers, please don't even go home. What I'm discussing with you now, and I'll go over to some of the components of what we discussed, and we'll do best practices approach, as I call it, I can't have a what-if manual. We can what if 300 scenarios, right? I focus on a framework of what are we trying to accomplish, and it may change, and it can be dynamic, and I don't want you to just think everything's in a box. We have to think out of the box. So that's our tools, what I call more workshops, when I have access to the staff. Based upon, prior to that, I'm doing discussions with the principals on an ongoing basis. Here, during different administrations, getting some of these changes that Dr. Schoen mentioned. Whoever's been here a long time, there were buzzers, remember at the front. No cameras, couldn't see, use a voice. hit the buzz. Things have progressed and changed. A lot of that is stimulated off of what we've been doing since 2006, and little implementations up to that. At that point, there was legislation, okay, that mandated after another, not quite like Parkland, but if we recall 2010, the State Department of Education and Homeland Security mandated initiatives that schools got. Guess what? Have to have an SOP now. They have to develop a book. That was 11. Didn't occur till 12. We had that already since '99, and was progressively going past that. We actually became a model for some of what became the ideas. I was reached out to participate and give information regarding that, okay? Because what I haven't mentioned, I also graduated the FBI National Academy in 2010. I focused on graduate level courses given to University of Virginia in terrorism mindset and methodologies. Because my thing is about prevention. I will know how to react. I'm very tactically sound. Went to FBI, defensive tactics instructor school. I'm an officer survival instructor. That's great. I want to prevent. I want to train you how to do that. Okay, so I also want to get into the mindset. If some of you have been staff members, and I've made it differently several years ago, we started paras, right? Okay, now we have teachers. Then we got to teaching paras. Then I started speaking to the bus drivers, proprietary ones, custodial staff. But everybody forgets there's a lot of moving parts that I had to learn, right? Because in my world, it's quasi-military. Hey, I need to instruct this. I need access right now. But there's moving parts. Office staff has to stay here when others are doing that. So I deal with the moving mechanism, and I've always been flexible. The department's allowed me to do that. Chief Kelly, and I work around it. Whatever we got to do. Sometimes it's night, sometimes it's day. Whatever I have to change. We have developed over the years more and more access to everyone. Because my goal is they know why I'm telling them to do something. You can't have a perfect scenario, but I try to get them into the mindset, get back to that mindset of what to look for in preventative issues, which I start with them to begin before they walk in the door and come from the parking lot, and the change of pace for them. It's stressful. We know that. I'll be blunt. I think I had to, be almost politically incorrect. I wanted to let them know it's uncomfortable for teachers. It's uncomfortable for parents that are moms and dads. Right? Teachers didn't want to get in to do this, but they've all bought in. What I will tell you, in the beginning, it's very hard to break into the educational environment. You really want this buy-in, because it's something very uncomfortable to them. Otherwise, they'd get into law enforcement. They would be doing something active. But I am telling you straight forward right now, the buy-in here has been phenomenal from the teachers. When I get questions. They're ready. Now principals have a list. Captain Jaffe, they know I'm coming. They're ramping up. Everybody gives me great ideas. I have come away from staff meetings changing and learning things, because each school is different. I can't give you a manual that is for every one of the schools. Betsy Ross is totally different than what GW's limitations or what they have. And of course, the high school with JK. The campus is over there. So we apply all of these principles in a plan. Although it's an overview, we talk very specific to what building and school they're with, because that's important for them. I do it annually. Not a year that goes by, it's not skipped. I'm not going to start it this year. It's all occurred. I had every school already before this happened. I do it every year. I get more access as much as we can. Like I said, paras, staff, bus company, all avenues, because it's very important. Okay? Try to keep, as things adapt and change with custodians, private custodial services, we try to deal and adapt to that. I'm always changing. Back to that legislation that I was stating was mandated, then required that Homeland Security, the Department of Counterterrorism, for each county, conduct a mandated site assessment, a very in-depth site assessment, not just for armed intruder, everything, from where you store your chemicals in a closet. It was an all hazards approach, from outside to inside. It had to be conducted by a member of Homeland Security. I actually was reached out because I already had a lot of those certifications. I had been known and partake in some of the roundtables of when they were drafting that legislation, the Department of Education legislation. They wound up, instead of the county, we're the only school that had me do it, because they sent me to go for the final certification through the Department of Homeland Security with Texas A&M, and I became one of those infrastructure site assessment evaluators on top of that. So I conducted it here with the passion and knowledge that I think is better than even someone that came from the outside that's very intent and professional. But I had kind of an inside putting my kids through the school. With that is a very comprehensive report with what we have, what we don't have, what we can do, and at the end, all recommendations. We have been chipping away and doing that. It is, listen, I would have, it's been great. We made a lot of those improvements, like I'm saying. Some I won't tell you. I can just tell you many of them were done. It all starts from the outside and what I'm looking for, and teaching them to look locally. This is great that there's a lot of passion now. Sometimes you need the kick, it's not really invigorating. So this is good, but I want to be very clear to you. This isn't just temporary. I'm here now to explain it, which is great. I know you read it. I can't get into exactly the training, but it's comprehensive what I go with. The recommendations, I won't tell you what are all the recommendations, right? I should. I can tell you, you should know this. If you've been in this district long enough, you were seeing some changes like, oh, I never used to do that. Dr. Sean said it. Oh, now there's a greeter at some, right? Oh, there's more cameras than there used to be. There's a lot of things. That was all part of this process. So I can just clarify that with you and be very intent with you that this gets done. Okay? And part of what I ask is many of our parents in town that are paras. And I would say this here, I discussed to not talk about what we talk about. Some of the threat, we're talking about all this. Many of it is custodial issues. It's domestic violence. What is a teacher now that if I lay out every plan or a para, you now know all the process, right? I try to keep it to what you should know and how you can react to it. There's many reasons why we can't put it out there. We even are cautious with the staff. Probably a lot of what we just said now is probably too much what I said, but I know you need it. There's a vigor here, I get it, and anxiety that is important. But I can only tell you, you didn't notice, I'm like coming towards you, so I'm very passionate about this. And this is the way I give the presentation to the staff, and I push it, and we push it, and we do role playing, I want to let you know, goes on, where I'll stress out some administrators, some will tell you that. It's like nerve wracking when I come in, because they know I care, they also know like, here we go, how is he going to challenge me with the thing to get me ready? Because that's what we need you to do. You have to be ready to go. I say to them all the time, you can't be sheep, you have to be shepherds. You have to be shepherds, and that's what you ask any staff, everything we talk about, that's my goal. We'll never stop and change. We're doing another full, like Homeland Security, site assessment, although it's not that I don't say little things, but there's going to be a formalized one again, will be coming up. I kind of do it every 4 or 5 years, most of you in the business, you know, you're doing your business plan. You're doing it again. Okay, so just, here briefly, if there is a Q&A, I will tell you, please, if you were to ask, I wouldn't get more specific. I think I gave a pretty relatively overview of what it is, and I know you want more. And Dr. Scholl mentioned a lot of the concerns that were passed on in writing. That's great. Some we've discussed. Principals reach out to me all the time with new stuff. I will tell you that. So with that, won't get too specific. If there was anything, understand why. There's reasons why we didn't get too specific. Okay? Remember, we shepherds, not sheep. That's when we get off with everything.
Thank you, Captain Jaffe.
Thank you very much, Captain Jaffe, for that presentation. We really appreciate it. Agenda questions. Please limit your questions at this time to resolutions under new business on this agenda. As a matter of fairness, you are asked to limit your questions to no more than 1 and your remarks to no longer than 3 minutes. If you are here representing a group, please identify yourself, the group, and your position in the group. If you are here as an individual, please give us your name and address. And this section of public participation will probably be a little bit longer than 15 minutes. But please, you can specify the resolution you're referring to. This is also a time for you to question Captain Jaffe if you have any questions for the captain. Come on up to the microphone, please.
It just probably needs to be
Can
adjusted,
you,
no?
Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
Would you mind turning the microphone?
Thank
Thank you.
Make sure it's on. Name and address.
My name is Steve Sylvester. I live at 11 West Hammond Road. And I'd like to ask the microphone, please. Yeah, I'd like to ask the officer here. I guess the short-term solution here right now is to have a police car based outside of the high school when we drop our kids off at when they go to school. Correct? That's
Well, if you don't mind, I'm not being.
I got
Give me your
3
whole
minutes.
question, because
Okay.
there's some things I'm gonna answer, there's
Okay.
more to.
So here's
totality.
the situation.
Yeah.
In Florida, there was a sheriff's officer that was stationed at the school who unfortunately cracked under pressure and did not confront the gunman, number one. Number two, because of the liberal laws we have on assault weapons in this country, which is not going to be fixed, the police were outgunned by the shooter. So my question is, if we're going to station police officers at the school, okay, is their focus going to be on school security, or is their focus going to be to stay there for an hour or two, make sure everything's good, and leave? Because if they don't have rifles, like they redistributed rifles to all the sheriff's officers in that county in Florida, then we're just waiting for something to happen, okay? And there was on NBC News, there's the safest school in America is in Indiana, okay, that has bulletproof glass, bulletproof doors, smoke bombs. So if we can't afford armed guards, then we could afford bulletproof doors, smoke bombs. And I'd also like to ask, how often are the drills done?
Appreciate your vigor, use
How
that
m-
word.
Okay,
Some of those things are more statements. I don't want to get into it.
okay, so
Let's-
my
no,
question,
no,
my
again,
question is, how often
I
are the
got
drills
it.
done? How often?
And an answer to you cannot politicize, all right, 'cause some of those other things.
I'm not politicizing. How often are the drills done?
I'm not going to tell you exactly how. I
Okay.
believe Dr. Schoen
Okay.
explained to you what's mandated.
Okay, so
Okay.
you don't want to tell us how often the drills are done?
I did. That's a security, that's a
So-
security
Okay.
breach, so no,
Okay,
we
great.
I'm
don't.
trying to answer your question.
Go ahead.
So, if you're listening, I can't discuss, you don't know everything going on, you make a narrow statement of, there's just a car park. You don't know the totality of the plans that you don't see, do see.
Okay,
Won't tell you what they are.
Okay.
Can tell you it's always been comprehensive before that.
Okay.
And obviously, at certain times, for certain reasons and timeframes
Okay.
of threat, we change it, adapt it,
okay,
and we're not gonna publicize it.
okay,
So that would be the one. I believe it's public knowledge on the mandated drills from the state require
okay,
so many drills per month that
Okay.
she stated, Dr.
Okay.
Schoen.
okay,
We will do sometimes more or less, they do.
okay,
We're not stating exactly
Okay.
how many. It's like, I can't answer about Indiana, sir.
Okay.
I can only answer what I have control and what I
Okay.
give the perspective of.
Okay.
Or statements of what the officers did. Because I will tell you, each state's different.
okay,
Not everyone, it was not a national standards for how officers respond,
Mhm.
what's known as active shooter.
okay,
State of New Jersey started doing it, and everyone, even in the counties, weren't even collaborating on having to do the one standard till a few years ago.
okay,
So I don't
All
even
right.
want to speak on Florida,
okay,
only because each state
So,
has its own
okay.
mandates and how their law enforcement does train.
Okay.
It's just not a national police department.
okay. So Dr. Schoen, it is not enough what we're doing right now. It's not going to protect our kids. That's my opinion,
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay?
Hello, Phil Ross, live at 579 Laramie Lane in Mahwah. And just, to be honest with you, I didn't come here to make friends, and I have to be honest, you can ask my wife, I'm a really crappy liar. So I just want but I will say some of the things that I've heard are very encouraging. Okay? I appreciate your openness and willingness to speak, and knowing that Captain Jaffe is heading this, it does give me a level of comfort. Okay? However, we will need to see some type of timeline for implementation of some of the things that we have discussed, and I don't think that is asking too much. And then the other thing is that we should involve our community. And the community being, the parents that want to be involved in this at some level, whether it's some type of community patrols, which can be split up to walk around the schools, anything like that, so we can help the police do their job. Anything that we can do to help, we will. I have certain talents, so do many other people in the area. We should tap on those. And you have people that are willing to help. But I really think that we should see something laid out with some type of timeline. And listen, I do appreciate the fact that you can't go and divulge all the inner workings of the security setups that you have, because that's it wouldn't be prudent. But if we do show some level of security, some robust security matters in place that will also act as a deterrent. I mean, that's the whole reason that police cars are driven around, to act as a deterrent.
Sure.
So do we have anything laid out as far as a timeline, or do we have any plans for getting together an ad hoc group with community members?
May I? Certainly.
In answer to your timelines, let's do the last question first. No, we don't have a timeline in place right now. The last week, we have spoken a few times,
Yes.
emailed more than that, Mr. Ross, to know that we were doing our best to work through what we could hear. That's great, Dennis. And that was just proof. So in answer, do we have a timeline? The answer to that is no. And part of that is that it requires our discussion with the Board of Education member. We have not talked about an ad hoc committee, so as you can't lie, I can't either, and it doesn't really serve a purpose. We have a lot of things in place. I said clearly in my statement, and I thank you all for listening, but it was the truth. We can always do more. And we can always take a look at what more we can do, but I can tell you that we rely fiercely on our chief, on our police department. Mr. De Silva, in speaking with him before earlier, said something that we all know but worthy of saying. We are educators. Our job is to run this school district. We need to keep our kids safe and secure,
Yes.
and to do that, we need to rely on highly trained officers who care about us. There are a number of things that I listed that we need to begin to take a look at. In what order and how they'll occur, I don't know yet, Mr. Ross. I'm being honest with you. I can't tell you by January or June 1 we'll have this in place, or by April 1, partly because we need to determine what those priorities are off of the list. One could argue that all of them are, and that we should do all of them. But with many, there are pros and cons. We have 4-year-olds in our district, and we have 18-year-olds in our district, and the reaction of one thing or another is clearly different, or could be. We need to be sensitive to those issues, because adults will say, put it up, I get it, it's bulletproof glass, or I get it, put an armed guard. And I'm not saying one way or the other my thoughts at this point, because to be quite honest with you, I really haven't thought about it to the extent that I needed to, trying to work through for the last week. But there will be conversations. I said it publicly, it'll put on video, you can call it back. We will have conversations about this, and we will talk about what we feel is best.
And the time, to let you know,
Yes.
Mr. Ross, the timelines for things that occur are on our agendas, and they occur at the Board of Ed meetings.
They do.
So if you'd like to come to the Board of Ed meetings or watch our videos after the fact, that would be great, then you'll get an update as to what's going on in the
I
district.
mean, I would like to be involved more in the Board of Ed meetings, but I work at night, so I had to take off.
And you
tonight,
gotta
but I
watch the
wanted to
video,
be
go to the
here.
videotape.
I will. But now, just as far as the active shooter training goes, at what age level do they start doing it? Because I know, I have 2 children that graduated from Mahwah a few years ago, and I don't know if they did anything with that. And I have a little one now, and she hasn't said anything to me that. And when does that actually start?
It goes right down, like I said, through Betsy Ross, as far as what the school district's in charge of. I started several years ago doing Wise Owl, and conducted also with Lightbridge, and on a soaring to a component. I have to be requested, I don't
Yes.
mandate it for me, but everybody's kind of bought into it. So they do start at kindergarten. Remember, they're not gonna know it.
Right, they're not going to know what's going
But I'll
on.
explain, depending on the age specific, as I've learned through the educational environment of all these years, it depends on what they're gonna say to them, of whether they may think in their mind it's a fire drill, but in essence, they're doing something slightly different because it's actually a lockdown. So they mostly should understand what a lockdown is, and even down to the K level, they've been specific with that. And I would say of some of the difference with, it changes obviously, I think, how more in tune to it as they get up age appropriate
Right.
through the schools and what the administrators and staff share, but Paul, we want them to follow what the staff wants, but you can't give them the whole plan. I've tried as many times as a student as it is a staff member.
Right, and if they know
It's a-
everything.
it's a very slippery
I
slope.
understand.
And I would say in appreciating to the community, not so much that, what I would have said earlier is it does take the village component of this. So part of where you will help is, as I said, not put it to the standards of putting all the weaknesses or what you think are perceived weaknesses on social media that the kids can see, because I believe that does create its own anxiety, because I do believe a lot more in the behavioral approach of what I discussed with that. So I take away from that here if you could. Remember, discuss it with them. They may not tell you it, so I know it's tough when I hear a lot, my kids don't say anything's going on, because the procedures they're going through may not always, depending on their age specific, be telling you that, oh yeah, this is because of active shooter. Okay? They may understand it better as lockdown, modified, or whatever a specific teacher feels comfortable with that class, but they're still following the protocol and procedure of what the kid's actions are supposed to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I
And
understand.
I did get to, just so you know, I've seen both ends of the spectrum. What I missed earlier was, got to go over to Israel with first responders and spend a few weeks there with the National Police and the Border Security Police and see the differences of that. And again, it goes more to a lot of behavioral things you don't see is the key actually to a lot of prevention. Okay? So that would be our answer. Everybody can help. You're passing on recommendations. Just be, now you would understand. Those that didn't know, they do pass on and we evaluate them and we go over it. Okay, so that's important.
And look, I know when I used to coach at the high school, it was really easy to get access to the school. You know, a kid could pop a backpack in between a door and let somebody in, or tap on a window. Now, are the egresses addressed right now? They have cameras and so forth?
We have cameras in a number of different locations.
Because it was easy to get in.
Understand that we're in an open environment. It's hard at the educational setting. I think everybody understands that. And can you imagine a full door? It's standard. We want that until the inconvenience starts mounting up. There's certain things of reality and a pragmatic approach of what can get done and what student, athlete is now going to start running around with fobs when they got to run in and go to the restroom. If you all have kids, I had the 4 kids, and you're running back and forth. I get it.
I know.
But I don't also want to pass that along as you can in your
Right.
best ways, because we don't like
Well, no,
telling
no,
everybody
yeah, I understand.
stuff is, but there are reasons why.
Well, and you know, and I understand about the inconvenience, but you know what, the thing is that, and as these schools were not designed with security in mind, and we all know that, so we have to make modifications. And, you know, we also have to modify our behavior, and if, you know, there's a couple of things that we have to do as parents, educators, students, that to modify the behavior for the safety of, you know, the rest of the school and all the children in it, then you know what, something's going to have to be done. And we all have to modify our behaviors. I mean, you know, look at flying in an airplane. It's a pain in the neck, but we haven't had hijacking since 9/11.
Understood.
You know?
Thank you,
So-
Mr. Ross, very
Thank
much.
you, Mr. Ross.
Appreciate it. Please come up to the microphone.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Howard. I live at 7 Farmstead Road, and I have 3 children in the Mahwah school system. My oldest is a 13-year-old daughter who happens to be in the 8th grade at Ramapo Ridge. So I was a part of the original email that was sent in October, so I was aware of that. Then, as things progress, we got the other email with a specific date attached to this threat that had come through. And this, of course, was after Parkland. So everybody was, you know, a little unnerved by that.
No
I
doubt.
appreciate you coming forward with that information. I truly do. It did freak me out.
It freaked out a lot
Okay.
of people.
So I also have a 4th grader at Joyce Kilmer. And I have a kindergartner at Lenape Meadows. So I get this information with this date attached to it, and being the kind of mom I am, I'm like, you know what? You guys don't have to go to school. You guys are going to stay home with me because I know you're home and I know you're safe, and it'll just make my life easier today. So that's what we did. Then I get this disturbing email, and again, I appreciate you sharing the information, but there was a child who was nervous enough that he was concerned for his own safety and brought, in his mind's eye, what he would use to defend himself, being this airsoft gun, which is a toy, to an extent. Not a toy I would allow my children to have. That's a separate issue. Okay. This child put this in his backpack, got onto a school bus, got into the school, and that was on the day that we had heightened security. That makes me petrified. That a 9-year-old child could put something like that in his backpack, get into the school, carry it around all day, even though his intentions with this toy were for good in case he needed it. Somebody else could do the same thing with bad intentions, and then we would be in the same situation that Parkland is in. So my request is simple. Everybody else has these great ideas, and I really applaud your efforts on everything you're doing to make us feel safe. But as you can see, I'm shaking right now, okay? Because I'm scared for my kids, especially since this one child was able to get on a bus and get into the school with a weapon. In his mind's eye, it was a weapon, okay? So what I would like to see, and what I ask you all to do, is to consider that before anybody enter any of the schools in the district, that their backpacks be checked at the door. I don't know what you would need, what kind of resources you need. I know that you have, I know, just from working with these people on all the HSOs, on the MSF, and everything else, I know that if we ask parents to stand at the door and help check everybody's backpack to make sure that their kids are safe, I'm sure you will have the backing of that. I know the Mahwah Police Department would certainly help us in any way that we need, because they always have been, and their response to this has been tremendous, and I appreciate it. I truly do. But if we could just implement that now, while we're waiting for the other things that everybody else has mentioned, I think that would put everybody's mind at ease, and it would definitely put mine at ease. So is that something that we can accomplish?
I'm sorry that you feel the way that you feel. I think we'd all understand keeping your kids home that day, and I spoke to many, many parents and said the same thing. As parents, you need to do what's going to make you feel better. That suggestion was one that I had listed before as far as checking of backpacks are concerned. I don't know what's entailed with that, who does that, what that looks like, can that be accomplished, what does that do, how much time does it take? We have hundreds and thousands of kids in our building. It is one of those things, I know what you're asking, that we need to talk about. And perhaps it goes to more of the top of the list than it does the bottom of the list. But we need to talk about it. So I can't sit here today without meeting with the police and saying, what does this look like? Or sitting with the board and saying, do we want that to happen? We want our kids to be protected. I understand what you're saying. I don't know quickly if it can be done, if it will be done, but I will definitely promise you we'll have that conversation.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Evelyn Slockbauer, 43 Thunderhead Place. My question is more on being proactive, and what are we doing, what is the procedure to help these students who, and recognizing that they can possibly be thinking about, one, harming themselves, or two, harming someone else, and what is that procedure, and how do we get these kids the help that they need?
May I? Let me start first and foremost by saying I'm going to make a general statement about what we do for all students. What I'm not going to do, as I mentioned before, is talk about 2 or 3 students that perhaps it's just not fair and it's not right, and I won't do it.
Right.
There are a number of things that we have in place within all of the schools that are taking a look at and watching out for any student who may be showing any difficulty with anything. Sometimes things show up behaviorally. Sometimes they show up in class. The first step in all of that is often an INRS team, right, that sits down and says, okay, let's see what's going on. We have incredible guidance counselors. We have teachers that have a pulse on our kids every day, and that is our first help with seeing what's going on. You know, there are districts out there, Mrs. Slockbauer, who I don't think come anywhere near the knowledge of our students like our teachers and administrators do. You know, is it a perfect system, Mrs. Slockbauer? We have almost 3,000 students, but there are a number of resources in place. We have an outstanding child study team who doesn't just work with special education students. They go out everywhere and work with kids and our resources 100% of the time. So when you ask what we have in place, we not only have it in place, it's really, really good.
Okay. I mentioned that because all of these incidents are disgruntled students that actually go to the school who have, you know, whether it's anger issues or whatever they're dealing with. And so for me, I'm not as worried as anybody else about the security at the school because I've been here a long time and I know, and I am totally confident in the security of the school. So I have no concerns with that. You know, my concern more is getting these kids the help that they need up front. Okay?
I'm happy that you're
So-
comfortable with the security of the schools, and I appreciate you saying that.
And
Very much.
Yeah.
However-
And just one thing that's not this, so I just wanted to find out what the cost of a varsity scoreboard is. Because I have to ask it too.
Oh, back to like education.
Sorry.
17,000.
17,000?
No, I don't
No.
believe it is.
17.
Is that
17?
correct? My apologies,
Okay,
17,000.
thank you very much.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Ms.
Thank you,
Slockbauer.
Ms. Slockbauer.
Yeah.
With the donation, right?
Part of that cost is offset by
It was
donation.
set by the donation.
It is by the boosters,
Yes.
and we're very appreciative, as I'm sure the baseball players are.
Come on up to the microphone if you'd like to speak. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eileen Head, and I live at 2280 Nash Court. I have one daughter, and I really appreciate all the hard work that the police officers are doing, and I want to say I appreciate that, and it's very important. But I have to say, a very high police presence and a lot of guards in a school is scary for children. It scares them, and that's something that I feel like I need to say. The other thing is I've been a special educator for 20 years, and I too think it's very, very important to give support to the children with emotional difficulties. And in my district, I keep saying, I keep getting these things in the mail. Why don't we have one person come to the district and help us with de-escalating the kids and just supporting these kids that everyone hates because they have emotional needs and they're difficult. So let's figure out how to support them, okay? That's another thing. The other thing that's really, the only thing I think is going to help this type of problem is gun control and a community that supports it. The children want it, and I think we need to support it as well as a community. One more thing I almost forgot. The child that did the threat, I don't know the details.
Mrs. Head.
There.
Oh, I feel
He
sorry.
He never made the threat.
Oh, okay. I feel sorry for the family, and I feel like maybe some of the community can support them. I don't know them, so maybe it's inappropriate. But it's very hard for these families when they're all alone and people are criticizing them, and they have no one to support them.
That's a fantastic point. Thank you so very much.
I just wanted to bring that up. That's all I wanted to say.
I'm happy you did. Thank you, Mrs.
Thank
Head.
you very much. Anyone else? Questions, comments? If you have any questions that you, I was going to say, if anyone has any questions after the meeting, there'll be board members hanging around, and you can, talk to us, and Captain Jaffe, if you'll still be here. I don't know. Okay.
I'm Liza Brands.
Could you move closer to the microphone,
Mahwah,
please?
New Jersey. I don't want to speak tonight. I feel like we haven't said enough. I feel like we've talked so much about what we're doing, and it's all fantastic, and thank you. But we need to be doing more, and I don't want to go home and not have something, an action item with a date, with an action, I don't know, a project, something. I don't want us to go home and not have something to say, we're doing something. So let me just, real quick, because I did write some things down, and I'm going to go through them. First of all, I did want to thank you, Dr. Shona, and I want to thank Chief Patelli, because you've both taken a lot of time out to talk to me, both via emails, on the phone. I want to also say, you brought up a really good point, Captain. I started emailing Dr. Shona back in January. This has nothing to do with this threat, non-threat, whatever it is. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with Columbine and everything that's happened since then. So I appreciate that. This should not, we cannot, as a town, I'm sorry, I hate that there's cameras there, be focused on this incident. It's not about this incident. And Chief Patelli, in our conversations, you used the word issue, something de-escalation, right? So we talked about what's being done now and how great it is and all the important things that we're doing. And we talked about the fact that this can't necessarily, I understand we can't always talk about everything that's being done, but can't necessarily be continued once this issue is de-escalated. We cannot allow this to de-escalate, because that's when kids come in schools and kill each other. This cannot be de-escalated. So what we're doing now is fantastic. Thank you for all of that. Really, honestly, I'm so happy to know that we have such incredible experience and skill and knowledge and capability in our school. And we have to do more. We have to do it now. Dr. Schoen, you brought up some facts in the beginning. I've skipped. I have no idea what I've even wanted to say, but I've skipped. But you brought up some facts in the beginning of this meeting. And I want to say, we're talking about, first of all, kids being scared. I would rather kids be scared than be in a body bag, and I'm sorry to be so over dramatic, but that we're at that point that we've got to challenge this. We talk about not wanting our kids to be in prisons. I don't want our kids to be in death traps. We talk about not wanting to change the educational environment. Their environment is changed. It's changed. I have a third grader who came home the Thursday before this alleged threat and said, "Mom, the second grader told me in the bathroom that we're going to get shot tomorrow." Okay, let's talk about this. So I had to tell her the police aren't there to be scary. The police are there to keep us safe.
Exactly.
And when we drove up to school that morning, because I did take her to school, we saw a police car. Now, coincidentally, as we're driving up, she says, "Mom, there's a policeman," and he drives away. And she actually exclaimed to me, "He's leaving?" And I said, "Just relax. They're there. It's fine." And we saw another one at the door, and she was very happy. So for us, we have to educate our kids that police aren't scary. They're protecting us. They're protecting each other. They're protecting the kids. The fact that you brought up in the beginning were really important facts, but I have a really important fact that we're not talking about. The fact is that children are bringing guns to school and killing children. It's a fact. Nothing anybody's done so far, really, and you're all doing your jobs, we couldn't prevent that child from doing what he did on the bus and bringing something into school that day. That didn't prevent it. You talk about prevention, Captain. I am 100% about prevention. We can talk about mental health issues, we need to. We can talk about gun control, we need to. Those are long-term things. And at the same time, we've got to build out the possibility that any child can bring any weapon into our school tomorrow. Not next week, not next month. We have to figure out. So there's probably a lot more. I'm sure I'll be at more meetings. If I have to say it, then I will. But my question for you then is, and you said, we can only implement some of these things after they're thoroughly vetted. We have to have conversations. Absolutely. A question here, someone asked a question about
Mr.
a
Ross.
timeline, that
Mr.
type of
Ross.
thing. So then what is the next step and what do we have as an action plan and a date? 'Cause
This
we
is
can't
why I
continue to
enjoy
have a
talking to you so much.
conversation.
We're similar in many ways. In answer to that, I can, if I may, and I'll just look for a nod from the chief. We have been trying with Captain Jaffe to have a week with our a meeting with our administrative team. I had told you this on a couple of phone calls ago, and then it snowed. And then I don't know what else that happened, but I can tell you in the near future, you're looking for a timeline in the next couple of weeks. I believe that we will be able to get our administrators together, our chief of police and Captain Jaffe. It is imperative that they are sitting at the table as they know their buildings more than we know their buildings. So does that make sense, Chief Vitale, to have that conversation together first, vet through some of these things that you are mentioning that I had included as recommendations I have received? So in answer to your question, in the next 2 weeks, the people who run the buildings and those that help protect the buildings will have a meeting. And we will report on what it is that we're looking at that point at our next board meeting.
So we can expect to hear from you after that meeting as to what actions or what things you are going to target to put in place or at least vet through.
That is correct, the latter.
Okay.
You can expect to hear from us at our next board meeting. I will include as part of my report what it is that we had discussed at that meeting, what it is that we're looking to do, but I won't have an action plan for its implementation at the next meeting, depending on how big or how small it is. And perhaps at the next meeting, I'll be able to say there are 5 more things that we've put into place based on thoughtful conversations that we've had with the best people involved. Does that help?
How will we find out? Yeah, it does. How will we find out that piece of information, the next few weeks, you're saying? Where do we get that detail? Where do we get that information?
As far as when the meeting date is going to be concerned?
Right,
So-
meeting.
so-
Here, at the board meeting.
At the board meetings.
So, but there's nothing gonna be done until after the board meeting. Is that what we're saying?
No, from now, from the minute we leave here, our next board meeting is 2
Yeah,
weeks
but
from
we're
now.
talking about implementation. That's what we're discussing. This is what I was trying to get.
I understand what you're saying, and if something I don't know whether or not something is going to be implemented in the next 2 weeks, but I ask you to please recall those things that we have done in 5 days. From the video piece with the police department, from working with Swift Reach, from changing our entrance procedures when we come in. So when you're saying things need to be done now, yes, they have been, and they'll continue to be.
Something that prevents a child from bringing a gun into school with not 100% accuracy, but much more than we can currently do.
I can tell you that we're going to have those discussions.
And we talked about it being a village, so we need the village to also help in that. Check your kids' backpacks.
Ones aren't tough to operate. Ones are not tough to operate.
Okay, but I'm saying, check your kids, we need you to help us, so please help us.
And I think the suggestions, and I agree, Ms. Barron, and I think that suggestions tonight have been excellent.
Fantastic.
But what you're looking for, and I completely understand it, are concrete things. Let me know by March 2nd this will occur, and March 4th this will occur, because you need to go home at the end of the day and say to your daughter, there's more stuff going on. It's even safer than it ever was. And that's what you want to be able to do. And I understand.
And I do want you to understand that. I think people are talking about, making us feel better about things. I don't want you to make me feel better. I want you to keep my kids safe.
Thank you.
Thank you
Make
very
one
much.
comment?
Yes, please.
Totally separate, but remember, these are things that they're stating, but you can take that now, because before it gets to the school, I would say to you that the HSOs, and create the same ground movement when we discuss, that you can check and pass along to other parents, and parents can take some empowerment here of check the bags before they send them to the bus stop and get on the bus. If you have guns, and remember, everything's not a gun. I use my thing, we talk active shooter, but there are many instances where it can be anything from a knife to a lot of other instruments, okay? It's a violent act that can occur. We can do that there, but did that just stop it getting on the bus? And I don't mean to be facetious about it, but we got it to the school, but we just talked about that could happen on the bus. So my thing would be, there has to be as much education and vigor of everybody there, and HSOs and its own movement that you can do in the community. And yes, in partnership of us trying to give more of those safety talks, you can check the backpack, you can check what's in there, you can check what's on social media, right? You can check your kids' phones. We want to do all these other limitations. I would say many of it is, if we looked at our own phones, we gave many presentations over the years in regards, if all of you have been part of our very active, robust prevention programs. A lot of that has been given for the parents and the kids, discussing, get more involved what's on their social media and discussions at home, at the dinner table, check the bags. If you have guns, you have to remember, New Jersey is already a very restrictive gun possession state, okay? So with that being said, if you have your gun safety at home, lock it up, insure it, they can't get it. I will tell you here in Mahwah, you don't walk on a street corner and spend $10 to buy one, okay? It is different, I'm not putting it down. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but the likelihood is far removed. It's more coming from being at a friend's house whose parents or someone already owns one and is not being diligent in its gun safety. That's how they get access to it.
Right.
So I will say we can start that now, and I don't want to get away from what we talked about, but I'm saying there are action items you can start here now. And I've already told you there are action items we've changed already beyond the board. As I say, we adjust and already create different initiatives ourselves that I want to discuss, but I agree with you 100%, but I just want to pass along, that's just as important before it gets to the school.
Thank you. Let me see if there's someone else who has a question, and then you
This is
can,
really
can you
important.
please wait till someone else, if someone else has a question, they can come up. If not, then you can come to the microphone and you can ask whatever you'd like. Thank you very much.
Good. Captain Jaffe, I am all for parental responsibility. You know, I'm a very responsible parent, I think most of my life. But here's the thing. We can't police everyone's house. I don't know what's happening in someone's home. I don't know if they're being responsible with their guns. I don't know if they're checking their child's backpack. That's what we need to prevent against now, and that's the thing that's upsetting people, because we don't have that mechanism in place to protect our children right at this point in time. That is our main concern. Okay? I can't go to everyone's house and check their kid's backpack. I can't go and make sure that everybody's got their guns locked up. None of us can do that, so we are depending upon, at this point in time, we are dependent upon the actions of responsible parents. And not everybody is responsible. Okay?
Thank
And
you.
that's our concern.
Thank you.
Marian Wara, 143 Johnson Avenue. I also would like to thank Captain Jaffe and Chief Battalion. I think that what they're doing with the protection of the schools is wonderful. I have to tell you that as a parent, my heart breaks for the family involved. As the superintendent pointed out, the stuff on Facebook is horrendous. I don't know what goes on in your house. You don't know what goes on in my house. That doesn't give anybody a right to vilify the child or anybody else. once everything is done with getting together and doing what we're going to do for the security and the safety, I really think that this is a big mental health issue. Okay, I know that, that the schools try. I know that they have great counselors. I don't know what the whole big picture is here. I can tell you within a week, I know of 3 separate instances. Okay, the threat or potential threat or unsubstantiated threat that happened, back in October, came to light on February 23rd.
Came to light in October, and then came to light again in February.
Well,
23rd.
okay, with the date of being February 23rd, with the
Correct,
whole email
correct.
that went out, okay? Then we have the issue of the poor child with the airsoft gun bringing it to school. Then there was an issue at the high school with the graffiti in the boys' bathroom, okay? Gun, shooting, I never really got what the full story was, except that it was under investigation. I don't know if that was concluded or not.
It was.
Okay. So I think that we need to do more to institute a see something, say something. Okay?
That was one of the
I know
things.
that was brought up. Okay, and I know it has to be presented differently for
Different age levels.
different age groups. Okay, I would like to think that would start with the younger grades. Now, I know back in the day there was a DARE program with Officer Curtis. I think that name changed, or is it?
It's called LEAD now.
Okay. They had the officer in the school. Okay, I think it was an SRO.
That's correct.
All the kids knew him. You started out in 4th or 5th grade, you moved up. Maybe that's something that we can look into to reinstitute. It worked. Now, I know that society's changed, I know that the times have changed, but there's a lot of different components here. It's not just the police department. It's not just, the teachers. We need to get who's ever dealing with these kids, guidance counselors, the special teams. I think we need to focus more on that. Again, I have to tell you that my heart breaks for this family. We don't know what goes on. On the same hand, I'm concerned about the well-being for my son. Now, I know you're going to tell me that you can't answer this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. There was 2 separate emails sent out that long weekend, one Friday, and I believe the other one was Saturday?
Saturday.
One of the emails said, and I don't want to know who the person is. I don't want to know what the family is. It's none of my business. What is my business is the safety of my son. One of those emails said that the child was suspended. The other one said that the child was expelled.
I've never used the term expelled.
Okay. So is the child going to come back to the school at any point in time?
I'm sorry. I cannot answer that question.
Is he being tutored somewhere, like at the
I cannot
library?
answer that question. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful and rude. I am going back to what I said before.
And that's fine. But I get that he's a minor and you're respecting that family's. I get that.
The issue for...
But there's no respect here for my son and all of these other kids that are going to these schools, and what's going to happen when this kid comes to the high school next year, or any child,
Okay.
not just this kid.
If I may, would you do me a favor?
Yes.
A personal favor. Would you go back and read that Saturday email for me, please? And if after reading that Saturday email doesn't answer part of what it is that you're asking, would you be kind enough to give me a personal phone call? Because to be honest with you, I'm not comfortable with this in a public forum.
Everything else was put out in a public forum.
And so, actually, to the extent if it's unclear in that letter, I'd like to refer you to the area within the letter which clearly makes a point in what it is that you're asking for.
So then why can't you just give me that point now? It's already out there, it's already
Excuse me,
public.
if I could just stop you here. You just started off by saying that on social media, there were a lot of people vilifying the student over what happened this past Friday. So at this moment in time, you are, I want to say doing the same thing, but it's to that point. We can't answer these questions.
So can you clarify the email for me then?
I don't have the email in front of me, ma'am, to be quite honest with you. That's why I'm asking you to go back and perhaps take a look at it, because I think that what it is that is written in there, in my opinion, having spoken to many parents, alleviated
Alleviated what?
how people were feeling.
After the first email went out on Friday.
That is correct.
The second email alleviated those fears. So as Dr. Schoen said, if you could go back and read the second email.
That is the information that I am providing at this point to the extent of this
So you
student or
can't give
any
me
other.
any status of what's going on, whether the child is back in school or not?
Unfortunately, that is correct.
All right, so if I go and ask somebody in his 8th grade class, they can tell me that?
No. Nor do I believe they would.
They would certainly tell me if he's there or not.
I have to tell you, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, this is, you're trying to ask questions that are, this child's a minor. We can't divulge that information.
I know that he's a minor.
Okay, and he never made the threat.
Don't go there.
Okay, so.
And that's
Please go back.
fine.
I'm asking you now to please go back, read that second email, and then if you have any questions, please call Dr. Schoen, and she'll be happy to talk to you.
So if I have any questions and I talk to Dr. Shorn, or come back to the next Board of Education meeting?
Call Dr. Schoen.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name's Michelle Diarco, 288 Miller Road. I don't usually do this.
Don't worry, it's
But-
fine.
Well, pay attention.
They can't hear
Oh,
you.
well, I'm sorry if you can't hear me. I'm standing right next to the,
You may have to go just a little bit closer.
Oh, well, am I Bon Jovi? Really? I've never done this before. It's very nice to meet everybody. Some of you I remember, and some of you already know me. Dr. Schoen, we share a mutual, she's a colleague, or was a former colleague, but we share a mutual friend. I would like to give you this and just approach for a minute, if that's okay?
Certainly.
I didn't really hear, you said so much before. My son, Kevin, he goes to 2 schools.
Mhm.
Some of you may remember Kevin, you probably had him, Mrs. Zacone, Kevin Diarco. He goes to 2 schools. He goes to Bergen Tech in the morning, and he goes to Mahwah in the afternoon. He said something to me about the teachers at Bergen Tech. They wear necklaces, and they have like panic buttons on the necklaces. Oh my God, my heart is pounding right now so much. I'm sorry.
You're doing a very good job.
Take a deep breath.
And I apologize
It's
to everybody
okay.
behind me too.
It's all right.
They wear, I don't know if this is something you guys might want to consider, but they wear like necklaces.
It certainly
panic
is something
buttons.
that, it certainly is something that we can.
Also, in the classrooms, I was told by a student, they have, oh boy, they have phones. Do the phones in the classrooms go directly to the office,
Main
or
office.
do they have like a 911 button? What
They
are
go directly to the main office.
So there's no you can't call like 911
What do you mean? Could a,
for like an emergency? You can't call out. It's just directly to the office?
correct.
That could be something you could change too, right?
Well, it's interesting. This Swift Reach program that we're in the process of looking through will allow the opportunity for there to be, hopefully at some point, that two-way communication.
Okay. What about, this is going to, I don't know if this is going to sound corny or whatever, but what about like when you do the drills? Do the teachers still put construction paper or anything like that on?
To be honest with you, I'm not going to go into those details. Partly, I'm going to jump on board with Captain Jaffe, which is some of the things that we do internally. Unfortunately, we need to keep that way.
Okay, what about installing shades? Like I've seen, like sometimes, I don't know if anybody else has seen this on the news.
Same question.
Oh, same one? Sorry, okay. At the high school, my son Kevin mentioned something about there's no service at the lower level, like the very lower level where the auditorium is.
It's a real great question. One of the things that I mentioned, and I did say a whole bunch because we've been in the process of looking at things, is that we have had our communications provider go through all of our buildings and determine where those pockets of issues could be for self-service.
Oh,
So
okay.
although I don't know it's in that exact location, it is quite possible, and the board will look moving forward to address those areas in our other buildings.
Okay. Here's one more thing. Kevin told me about a month ago, and I did talk to Mr. McFarren about this. Kevin had mentioned that Mr. Rose's room, when they did a drill, Mr. Rose's room, when the police officer went around checking the doors, Mr. Rose's lock, the door popped open.
I am very happy that you're bringing that to our attention, but
So-
the best person to take care of that is Mr. McFerrin and Mr. Pascal
Well, that was the
internally.
first one I called Mr. McFerrin, so I'm just
Absolutely.
guessing that if you just want to double check with him. He said he was going to look into it, and I'm not saying he didn't, because knowing Mr. McFerrin, he did. But you might want to just check into that
I
again.
guarantee you that, and even one better, I have Mr. Pascal in the room, so I'm sure he'll be following up as well. We're good to
Okay.
go, and he knows you're talking.
Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you, yes. Yes, Captain.
No.
Yes, thank
No.
you.
We do after act. I want to explain, during those drills, when you say the officer, part of what we conduct, we monitor drills with the administrative staff, so we see what they're doing, and we report back and have an after-action briefing, and go over what we found, if anything, and pass that along to administrators. So we appreciate the phone call, but it goes even beyond Ms. McFerrin, all the schools. We sit with them afterwards and go over everything we observe.
Hi. My name is Lauren Gianni. I live at 102 Grove Street in town, and I wanted to say thank you. It sounds like you have a very good response team in case something were to happen. I appreciate all those efforts. Explaining those is extremely helpful and definitely puts us at ease. I know my daughter in Lenape kind of lives in a little bit of a bubble. So when someone told her that a shooting was going to take place the following day, she was like, oh, okay, well, they said it was in another school, so it really didn't bother her at all. She didn't bring it up at all. I found out from another parent, so I mentioned it to her that she had heard about it. So see something, say something is absolutely something that I think that we can endorse, but at the same time, you know, bringing up other resources in order to check to make sure nothing is actually physically going into the building in the first place would be extremely helpful. And I also wanted to say that having a police presence or a security presence, I think would be a great opportunity for the kids to build a relationship with the local police in town. I don't think that it needs to be anything scary. I mean, they all look pretty friendly to me. So I think that that would be great for them, small and bigger, to build a relationship with them. All right?
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
And Dr. Sher, one of the things we've heard a lot about tonight is the See Something, Say Something campaign. And some of the conversations Dr. Schoen and I have had over the past couple of weeks, and there's been a lot of them and extensive, is we're committed to use our Seized Fund account to put together a See Something, Say Something campaign for both parents and children. We're still discussing whether or not this would be in the form of a PSA or a video or take-home material, but it's something that would be ongoing throughout the calendar year. So it wouldn't be at any cost to the board nor to the taxpayers. It would be through our Seized Fund account. And it would be an initiative, and I think it would be the first in the state that the Board of Ed and the law enforcement agency would collaborate together to put that information for the parents, but it incorporate a lot of your concerns in probably a video or PSA that you could go over with your children as well as for the faculty and staff.
Chief, that's one of those action items that we can put on our list, and it's the kind of thing that's being requested of us today, so I will reach out to you tomorrow, and we'll see what we can do to get that information out sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Frank Stumbo, 140 Church Street. I have a 5-year-old in Lenape. About a week and a half ago, she came home and told me somebody was going to gun up her school. A little bit of a concern. I had a bunch of questions. Most of them have been gone through. Answers, no answers, answers that could be given, etc. I have 2 simple ones. I think I know the answer to this one already. Who's the head of security for the BOE? Who's in charge of security?
For the BOE, sir?
For the Board of Ed and for the district, who's in charge of security?
What-
Is there one face on that title?
We have a district security committee, and that is led by Mr. Vandermolen, our middle school principal.
Okay. Second question is, what's the percentage slotted in the budget in the district for security?
Based on need.
Based on need?
Based on need.
Okay.
And based on determination. So I can tell you, Mr. Gallo, do you want to jump in on this? No.
Thanks for the help. Fire away. Nice talking to you.
Okay, let me say, we are in the process of putting our budget together. I've been involved with the budget making process for 2.5 years. Rick's been longer. There's never been a security initiative that was not funded.
That is correct.
Okay.
There are certainly adequate resources to address whatever security
is
needs
correct.
we have. There's also, I believe, some grant money available from the state if necessary, but to date, we have not had to rely on that.
That is correct.
Thank you for getting me up to
Mr.
speed.
Gallo is chair of the Finance and Facilities, the only reason I headed over in that
I have
direction.
one child, she's a 5-year-old, so I'm about 6 months into this whole process, so I'll be sticking around to drive
I'm
you
three-
nuts for
I'm
the next
3 tuitions
12,
away.
but I'm just in now.
You're just getting started.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay,
getting
good.
warmed up
You
now.
want a fist bump on that?
Yeah, we can bump on that later.
Look forward to seeing you
I'll
at
buy
more
you a beer.
meetings. Thank you.
Let's see.
You only said 2 questions, you know that, right?
Yeah, well, I lied a lot. What are you gonna do? We got that. I have to ask, we've been talking about it takes a village. Okay, I get that it does take a village, and it takes your end, it takes our end, it takes everybody's end. But it doesn't really seem that there's gonna be any reciprocity from you guys as far as giving us anything, as far as information or anything of what's getting done. I mean, I have to be honest, to a certain degree I understand it, but to a certain degree I don't. The letter came out in regard to the threat that wasn't a threat, because I don't know how to address it. I know that the child didn't make the threat, but
Rumor.
the letter was
That
the
would-
letter.
that would be the way to
That
address
letter,
it.
we'll call that letter, okay? That letter came out, we were reinforced with things like we have every measure in place at our disposal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That Friday, under the, what I would assume is probably the most heightened security day Mahwah schools have ever seen, is that safe to say?
Not a lot, in recent years.
In recent years. In recent years, we had the most bumped-up security that the district has ever seen, and a child walked through the front door with a mock firearm. Now, you say airsoft gun, you can picture a little plastic gun, or you can picture the ones my nephews run around with that pretty much act, operate, weigh, and replicate exactly a firearm and are made of metal. Totally undetected. Carried through the building for an entire school day, brought back on the bus, and brought home. What'd you have in place? I'm just curious. Those robust measures that were at our disposal and were put in place to protect our kids in the event of yada, 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 somebody essentially walked through a firearm without being a firearm. Carried it the entire day. No one was the wiser. And you guys are doing an awesome job. I don't fault you guys. You can't be everywhere. You can't search every bag. That would be insane to ask you to do. But there are measures that can be put in place easily, fairly easily. And we've never shot down any security measure ever brought up. They could be put in place fairly quick. I mean, the other thing I have to ask, because I'm not just looking to make the schools a fortress, what are we doing for these kids? Because you had a 5th grader come in that was, is this on TV or is this just recorded? Just recorded. You had a kid come in 5th grade that was so scared shitless of what was going to go on, and I'm sorry, this is just me. I'm very upfront. The kid was scared. He was scared enough to feel a need to have a firearm. Granted, it was a toy. His age, that's the best he's going to get. He was so scared that he felt he needed to bring a firearm into the building to protect himself in the event that this was real. Did you bring in counselors? Has anybody addressed this with the students? I mean, my 5-year-old came home and said somebody was going to gun up her school. She doesn't know what that means. We don't talk about this in front of her, so it's just her repeating something. But it's pretty obvious that as you go up the ladder in age, these kids are scared. They may not tell you they're scared. They may not be outward that they're scared. The kid put a fake gun in his backpack to protect himself. You have a problem. It needs to be addressed with the students at whatever degree through the ladder with their age. How do you know you don't have other kids that are scared? I mean, you don't want somebody else bringing something else, because you have to also discipline these kids when they do. Kid brings in an airsoft gun. I assume you now know who he is because there was an investigation and it was found not to be a threat. Well, you now have to discipline that child. So the more this happens, the more kids you're going to have to discipline, and, you know, eventually somebody's going to get hung up that doesn't need to be, because this wasn't addressed with them on a level of relieving their fears. Are we doing anything? Do we have anything in place for that? Did you bring in any counselors to talk to any of these kids that might have an issue? Because apparently you have scared kids.
I'm just waiting.
Oh,
I
I'm
just-
done.
I
Go
did,
ahead,
I
'cause
didn't
I'll
want to
ramble- I'll
answer a
ramble all
question
night.
mid.
If you'll leave me the mic, I'll ramble all night, even though I hate to talk, so go ahead.
Oh, so I need to get used to this and know when I
You
go
got-
like this?
You got 12 years and you better hope we don't have another one, so fire away.
I better hope what?
Better hope we don't have another one.
Okay.
I'm trying,
No, that's interesting. I gotta think on that.
I'm trying to make, I'm
As-
trying
as
to make
where-
light of all this, and I'm trying to
As
keep
to
it
where to
light.
go with that. We have always had measures in place to work with any student at any time who may be showing any kind of fear or trepidation about anything.
Okay.
And I'm going to speak outside of these situations as you can understand. Communication with kids on different levels is different. On a lower level, you aren't necessarily going to go on a PA system and make an announcement with things that perhaps a 5-year-old like your child would understand. On the middle school and high school level, a very thoughtful, loving message was delivered by both principals to almost 1,800 students who could get it.
Okay.
Did it speak specifically? No, it spoke about how you feel, and we want to make you feel that you're here and we're going to do our very best to take care of you, and ended with "we love you." And they got that message, and the kids got it. JK dealt with things a little bit differently, more on a personal note. More, a teacher said, "Hey, listen, you know, Sally or Johnny is a little bit weird in class today," and the elementaries did the same thing. But our communication with kids and when there are issues is the same now as it was then. And so I think it's important as a new parent and one that I'm going to get to know over the next 12 years.
You have no
is,
idea.
That's great. See, I'm having a good night so far. That's great. I am a phone call away, and there are many parents that you could turn around to in this room and attest to the fact that I am, and so are the administrators that your child will be part of. That's what makes Mahwah special. And we can't know everything all the time. And I'm being as
Impossible.
sincere as possible. We can't, and we rely on you going, you know, something, my kid's feeling a little funky today, can you help me out? And that's when those counselors we have and the social workers we have and our child study team. Our child study team is so good. At the last meeting, I reported to the fact that they go out to other districts when in time of need. And the only reason that they do and that they're called upon is because they're that good. We're happy that they're here with
And I'm
us.
very happy that my daughter's in the school system and that we have that, but can I just point something out?
Please.
Because I love your answer, and I respect your answer. Can we all agree it didn't work with a certain child that walked the firearm through the front door?
No, what I can tell you is that we are around to help all students. What I'm not going to do is to talk about any individual child, and I do hope that you respect that.
I do.
And I have to hold true to that.
I do. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Hi there.
Hi there.
My name is Justin Sheldon, and I'm from 2217 Lancaster Court. My background, I've been in the military now for 12 years. I'm active duty. Military recruiter, so I go around to a lot of different high schools, and so I see a lot of different things. Just want to point out, just to start with, that I think that you guys are doing a stand-up job. Okay, so I think that it's, as a whole, and I think that every school district should abide by just a couple different principles. Number one is, so I have this little ID card, and if I don't have this with me, I can't get on military installation, right? So why can't our students have some type of system, not only just our students, but it should go to anybody that has access to the school, should have a kiosk or something like that where they have to scan in, and it has, yeah.
Mr. Sheldon, I mentioned at the beginning of this that all of our teachers have what it is that you're talking about,
Okay.
and we're in the process of considering that on the high school level as well for next year.
Okay. But I would go a step further than that. Like even like if, like somebody like myself, I have access to all my high schools. I have to go, if I need to go in there, I should have some type of identification to get into those schools. I shouldn't just be able just to walk in. You said you have like 3 points of contact. They check who my name is, who my child is, and what my need is. So, but there should be something that goes a little bit further than that, where you actually have a scanning system where it shows my picture. I am who I say that I am.
There are a number of different systems out there, and I've spoken to Chief Patelli about this, and that's one of the things that we're going to look at.
Okay. And then the second point that I would just bring up is, if I can't bring it onto an airplane, I shouldn't be able to bring it to a school. And that's just the way that I just think that it should be. There should be some type of scanning system. If I can't bring it on an airplane, I shouldn't bring it to a school.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you wait 1 minute? I think there's other people that wanted to get up. You can come back. Thank you.
Bonnie Latona, 451 Poets Way. I want to first thank the police because they have done a great job.
Move closer to the microphone, please.
Sorry, is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I want to thank the police for doing a great job. My children, actually, high school and Ridge, they feel the opposite of what someone said about being afraid. They said, wow, the police are here. I feel better. They know a lot of the police officers. I encourage the children to do JPA at least once. They know a lot of the officers through the school, seeing them through LEAD and everything else. Not only what people are saying about children who have needs or different or something, these officers now are making a connection with them, and they could see at that point in time children that may need to be contacted in order to see what's going on. Maybe they're having an issue with a friend that's no longer their friend for some reason. And the police officers might see it more so than the teacher or the staff, because let's face it, they've got so much going on, they can't have eyes behind their heads all the time. But an officer might be able to pick up warnings that the staff isn't there to do.
Ms. Latona, you are absolutely right, and I stand corrected because I had talked about teachers and about administrators, but our police officers do know many of our students through whether it's the LEAD program, and we're fortunate enough to have some officers who are also coaches, and they develop relationships as well. So
Correct.
that is another area in which we can
My
get to
son
know
had a
talent.
coach for cross country who stepped up and helped him and went above and beyond to help him with other areas, and I just adore him for that. And it doesn't mean that there aren't teachers that we've had that haven't done the same. There aren't
We have them
principals.
already, and
They're
they're all-
there. But I just wanted to say that the feeling of security and also familiarity with the officers is huge, one. Two, Captain Jaffe, you're saying see something, say
Bless you.
something. Bless you. In the see something, say something, is there, because it hasn't been brought out yet, is that going to be for parents as well as the kids or just the children?
The chief had stood up and mentioned, I believe.
Dr. Shaw and I talked about both approaches, something that would be comprehended by children and also at a higher level for adults.
Okay, that would be great
So there'd be
because.
dual messages, but age appropriate and also appropriate for parents.
Thank you, Chief. The other question is because we as parents have to be able to hear what they are getting in order to reinforce it at home the same way that you're delivering it. Because we cannot reinforce the same thing if we don't know it. In that see something, say something, do you know if there's something there for a child who hears something but now may feel threatened to say something or scared to say something? Is there a way that it tells the child how to go forward to go to Mr. Vandermolen without feeling that this said child, I'm not saying any child in particular, I'm saying a child in the future, they hear something and they want to go say something to Mr. Vandermolen. How do they feel safe to go to Mr. Vandermolen without feeling that there's going to be repercussions on themselves?
As Dr. Shaw and I spoke, or as we both said, we're in the initial stages. So we have started to discuss the overall concept, and now we've just got to dial into it and decide what's the best approach for Mahwah. So some of those answers, some of those questions would have answers to right yet. But
Correct.
we'll-
I haven't taken a look at it, Ms. Latona, in all honesty, so I can't even help
That's
as far
fair.
as answering the
This
question
is
is
all,
concerned, but I will.
This is all on the table, I understand. When you do, can I ask that you look into that so that each and every child feels that they are safe to go to the police officer, to go to their teacher, to go to their principal, without feeling that there's going to be a ramification on them?
Well,
at all?
we can actually see what we can do even prior to implementing a program and just have that message get out into our schools. Sometimes our teachers are the best deliverers of information because they're so close to. So we can certainly look into that, Ms. Latona.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
For the record, it's 3 minutes.
Yeah. I honestly was not going to say much, but so I'm only just
my name is Rob Hermanson, Council President Mahwah. I came up really because I wanted to thank Captain Jaffe and thank the Chief. I've been in contact with the Chief over some of the things that are going on, and I just want you to know from where the council sits that we are willing to do whatever we can to work together. I received your email today, President Barron, telling us that we're looking to work together to try to find a time we can sit down to discuss some of the things where we can all work together to find solutions. I can tell you that one of the things I'd like to just let the parents know is, I've had children in the school for a long time, and I still have one still going through the system. And never have I ever felt a situation where that the police were not doing the right thing or had not looked to do the right thing. Right now this is a fluid situation, and it's going to be fluid every day. There's something going on every day that changes, and we've seen that in society of where we are. And I think that's the thing that we're looking to figure out as we move forward here with this process of how we work together with the board, with the superintendent, with our police, with the mayor, with our council, of how we take care of this, this fluid situation to make sure that the safety of our children is paramount, and how we go about to take care of that. And so from my purpose, I just want you to know, like I said, that whatever it is that we are able to do, and from our side that we are willing to do and work and make that happen. The people here, we've been through a few of these meetings where we've had people come in on concerns and worry about what's going on, and I think that's an important thing, and I explain that to the people all the time. Keep coming back to the meetings. No one has a monopoly on good ideas. And so a lot of the people here and some of the things that they have, some may be able to be implemented, some may not be able to be implemented. But the thing is, so long as you come up with the things that you have, keep coming in, reach out to the Board of Education members, reach out to the superintendent, reach out to our police, come to us at the council, let us know what's going on, what we can do to help, we will do. And I know that you guys all have the best interest of our kids. I know that you're sitting up here trying to do the right thing. This is not easy. And I just want you to know we have your backs, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Hermanson.
for your support.
Thank you.
Oh, come on.
We really are nice.
Judy Januszewski. I live at 68 Clover Road in Mahwah. I just have a suggestion. I'm overseen by a large corporation, and they have in their company instituted a anonymous tip line. So why can't, because I know for a fact in talking to my son, all his friends, he goes to high school, they're all chatting amongst themselves, but there is no chance they're going to go to anybody in a teacher, guidance counselor, principal, or McFarren to give any kind of information if they saw something or, they saw something.
I've got
or
to tell
said
you,
something.
and my assistant is almost in the back of the room nodding her head. What I had said to her today is we need to look into this. There are 1,000,005 things I wanted to have in place today because I wanted to show you clearly by action that this is important to us and we can always do more. We just didn't vet through that and look at that and see what it looks like. I think it
Right.
could be definitely a suggestion
It would
that we
be an
could look
easy
into.
solution. It's an anonymous tip line. You call, you leave a message. You don't have to leave your name. You can say, I'm a junior at Mahwah High School, and this is what I saw today on the bus, or this is what I saw today in the locker room.
There is, though, prior to doing that, should we choose to go that route, there is a way to make an anonymous claim online, right on our website, that allows there to be an anonymous reporting.
But do the kids know that?
Certainly something we can make sure that they do.
Yeah, no.
But it's
I'm
in
just
place
wondering,
already,
because
so there is an anonymous way to do that.
I think that a lot can be pointed out in addition to the child that brought the toy to school on Friday. Those kids that were on that bus were well aware of the fact that he was bringing it with him, but they didn't say anything. So that's my concern.
Thank you for your information. I think it's absolutely something we can
Thank
consider.
you.
We can. I can't go.
Thank you very much.
twice.
All right. Thank you to everyone for coming up with.
Sorry. Two things real quick with her saying the anonymous tip line.
Mhm.
I do not want to speak for Chief Battaglia or Captain Jaffe or the police, but when you do an anonymous tip and there's something that could be a credible threat, they have no way then to follow up to see if this is credible or not, and then it's going to take a lot more.
That's one of the
So
reasons that I had said we could check into it, but
That is why I was
would wanna talk.
saying before, to reiterate my statement, that there should be a way that a child could be able, like, in other words, let's say something happens in the classroom, the child doesn't want to go to the teacher and say, look over there, and be, pointed out. So I have implemented my own things with my own children in order to help for them, if they're in a situation, to be able to still do something anonymously on their own, anonymously to their peers. But to be able to go to Mr. Vandermolen's office. And by the way, also Mr. Vandermolen, I do not want to make it sound like your door is shut. He is always open and he's always there for the parents and the children. My daughter does feel she could go to him at any time. Mrs. Parker, the front office, Mrs. Whalen, guidance. That's not an issue. That's not what I meant by this whole thing. Doors are not closed. They are open. Before this, even. But I'm just saying, having myself in the past be in a position where I did not want to open up because I was being threatened. If I did as a child, I did not. So I did not, I saw and heard, but I couldn't say. So I don't want that for any child.
No, I
No,
think
I
it's,
don't think anyone wants that for
nobody
any
wants
child.
that, and I
Right.
think it's a real good piece. How to get there and what the best way to do that, I don't know. And I truly would rely on my administrative staff to say,
So-
okay, what can we do with it?
I understand, sorry, I don't know your name. I've seen your face through the whole years, but I don't know your name. Judy, I'm sorry, but I understand her point, because it is important for children to be able to feel comfortable enough to go up and
You're
say
absolutely
something.
correct.
But
Thank
that
you.
anonymous part is
Just
kind
gotta
of.
figure out how that looks, Mrs. Latona. Just gotta figure it out. Sometimes things are broken on face value, and perhaps we can find another way to accomplish the same goal, is what I'm trying to say. But we will.
Yeah, if there's a
Thank
way
you.
to do it without it being so public.
Yep,
That
that would be anonymous.
Right.
Thank
Right.
you very
Well,
much.
no, anonymous to me is, you do a tip line and nobody knows that you did it. Like, there's no
Right,
connection
we
back to you.
get it. They're working on it, and I thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for all your comments.
If it is
and
okay,
concerns.
with the Board of
Um,
Education, I'd really like our community to continue to be protected, if I could let Chief Battaglia, and unless you'd like to stay, Captain Jaffe.
You want to hear
Look,
the
it
rest
goes
of
like
what
this.
we do here?
Totally and completely up to you. We're just gonna
Thank
move
you
on to
so
our
much
agenda at this
for
point.
the
Thank you both.
presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just hope that everyone knows that any comments, any concerns, any suggestions you have nothing is too small to bring forth, either to the superintendent, to the board. You're all welcome. This is your house. So thank you very much for all coming. Okay, Mr. Bleeker, do you have a report for us this evening?
Yes, I have one item.
Okay. Certainly, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, good evening. I just have one item to bring to the attention of the board and the public. I had spoken about at the last two meetings as far as the governor and potentially postponing the budget address, and therefore we're postponing our action on sending a preliminary budget to the county office for their review. That has happened. The governor did postpone his budget address to March 13th. What that does for our schedule, it is going to require that we have an additional board meeting sometime between the March 14th meeting that's scheduled and the April 4th meeting. We have a deadline to submit to the county office by March 29th. We haven't finalized a date for the board to meet yet to adopt or to approve a preliminary budget, but as soon as we do, we will make that public and we'll make that available. It does not impact the rest of our calendar. We still anticipate the final budget adoption on April 25th, as we currently have planned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fair, do you have anything for us this evening?
Yes, very brief.
Thank you.
Next board meeting, March 14th, we'll be celebrating our second batch of staff highlights, one staff member per building.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. Okay, my report for this evening. I have some congratulations here for the girls' basketball team for defeating Riverdale 32-30 at home. Sam Hovner had 17 points to lead the offense, so way to go, T-Birds. Congratulations to all North Jersey Region 1 junior high school orchestra musicians. Congratulations to 4 of our music students who are accepted into the all North Jersey Region 1 junior high school orchestra. James Cowell on bass, Olivia Sang on violin, Winnie Tso on cello, and Vicky Yang on viola. And then we have congratulations to our academic decathlon. So congrats to the decathlon, who scored 13 individual awards and qualified to move on to the state competition. So great job with the decathlon team. I also want to just let everyone know that next weekend, March 10th and 11th, the Mahwah Robotics team will be participating in a competition at Mount Olive. So you can find that online. I think maybe we could put it on our website. Right there. And I think that is it for this evening. Does anyone, let's see, we've got board of committee reports. Does anyone have a report this evening?
Yep, for policy committee, we met on Monday morning to finalize our month-and-a-half-long assessment of the 1000 series. So next time we'll have a whole bunch of changes on the agenda. For tonight, there are 11 first readings and 5 second readings and adoptions. Most of them are regulations. Most of them are just updating language, code recitations, that type of thing. There's really not anything that's of any great consequence.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Kazmarski.
Technology Committee was supposed to be tonight, but due to events that occurred in the meeting that we had this evening, our technology audit presentation will be
on the 28th.
28th, so.
Not on the 14th, as we're recognizing staff. I'm sorry,
Understood.
Mr. Chairperson.
2 meetings out, which is all important as when we speak of security and building security.
Yes.
And, changes of things that we can do involve technology, much like connecting to the police department in a matter of days. So, very exciting presentation. I've seen it. Can't wait. Ask a bunch of questions. But that's it for us.
Thank you. Any other? Yes, Mr. Gallo.
I have a report for Finance and Facilities, and I have a report for negotiations. First, I want to thank my colleagues on the Finance and Facilities Committee for giving so much time to some recent interviews we did for some new professional service providers we're bringing into the district, both of whom we're very excited to introduce to the district. On item 15J on today's agenda, there's for board consideration the approval of a construction manager for our STEAM project. We're very excited to bring them on board to help the process along and during the course of the project to keep us on time, on budget, and build a quality building. The other professional we're bringing on is a broker of record for the district's medical insurance, which includes prescription and dental plans. We interviewed 3 firms. We decided on one who's on 15K. This is going to be, as we're all aware, both in our personal lives, of the rising costs of healthcare. This is obviously a huge cost for the district, and we're very excited to bring on some experts who can help us, and all of our employees for that matter, make more rational decisions regarding their healthcare choices. We have another report on cell tower. Within the last 24 hours, we've had some developments on the cell tower. We have met twice with adjoining property owners who've had some concerns about our proposal to lease the property for a cell tower. They have engaged an attorney and they've raised some objections to the lease. We're going to be working through that with our attorney, and hopefully we can find a way forward on the project. After this meeting, we will go to budget and discuss budget. Lisa and Dennis are staying overtime to help out tonight, and we really appreciate their help on that. On negotiations, there was some follow-up discussion with the Administrators Association on a proposal that they had made. We had costed out their proposal, and we were trying to share as much information with them as we have. And we as a committee will be scheduling something in the next week or 2 to give to follow up on the process.
Thank you.
That is my report.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. Does anyone have any other remarks or additional comments on reports or non-agenda items?
Yep, I do. I just want to shed a little bit of a spotlight on our wrestling team this year, our varsity wrestling team. So we have 2 young men, Matt Surich and Travis Arata, this year were earlier this year or this month. Matt was won district champion at the 145 pound weight class, and Travis was not only the district champion in his 170 pound weight class, but he got the most outstanding wrestler award, which was fantastic. At regionals, Matt placed 3rd, and Travis was the regional champ, which is the 13th time in Mahwah history that's happened. And those gentlemen are going to the States on March 2nd and 3rd. Matt is seated 17th in his weight class, and Travis is seated 13th. Just awesome. In the words of their coach, and I hope it's okay, I sort of got some information off of offline there, and he says it's not just about the success on the mat for these young men, but their strong leadership and character exhibited in and out of the practice room. And I had the opportunity when I was in high school to wrestle with Coach Wagman, and I can tell you that these young men have a great role model in him. I can attest to his talent and passion for the sport, and I'd like to extend my congratulations to both of these young men and their coach, and wish them the best of luck in Atlantic City on 2nd and 3rd.
Thank you.
I just want to make a quick remark.
Yes.
So recently we added that Twitter feed in the main homepage of the website, and I've been checking my board email a little bit more than usual. I always go through the homepage, and I am astounded by the daily reports about our students, about sports events, from staff members. The things that they're doing with our students is remarkable. It's why I'm proud to serve on this board. I think that's why we're all here, and it's a reminder that we're doing an awesome job for our students.
Thank you very much.
You paid it. You did.
Message by friends of Ben Kazmarski.
I've got to tell you this, but it's worthy of repeating again. We had schools that were doing it, but Dennis was real instrumental in getting not only everyone on board, but having it all feed in so you have the ability to see what's going on district-wide. We've received some great comments, but kudos where kudos are deserved.
One decent.
Thank you, Dennis. Yes,
He just spilled his water, so let's not get carried away.
Just to remind everyone, on the 29th of March is the Bergen County Legislative Dinner, where you get a chance to sit with and listen to the politicians through not only our district, but throughout the state, and see where they stand on various educational issues and gun law issues, if you wish. But it's free. Sign up for it and come.
Where's it taking place this?
Maggiano's.
Maggiano's? Okay, great, thank you very much. I just have 2 last things I just want to mention that's on our agenda. I want to thank the Mahwah Sports Boosters for their generous donation of $5,000 to be used to help offset the cost of the new baseball field scoreboard. And I also want to thank an anonymous donor. I want them to know that we are grateful for their generous donation of $2,507 for Mahwah High School to purchase benches to be placed outside the auditorium. So whoever you are, thank you very much. Okay, old business. May I have a motion to move on old business? Mr. Wendrikowitz, second by Mr. De Silva. Any comments on old business, anyone? Okay, good to go. Would you take roll call, please?
Mr. Kazmarski.
Yes.
Ms. Conoco.
Yes.
Ms. Navratish.
Yes.
Dr. Morthy.
Yes.
Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Yes.
Ms. Saccone.
Yes.
Mr. De Silva.
Yes.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes.
And Ms. Barron.
Yes. Now I have new business, yes.
What I wanted to do is make sure that we included the addendum that we discussed earlier this evening, and I thought we were doing that at 15.
15P.
P,
Be a separate
P
entity.
at the end of
So
15,
is-
separate.
15 people, we are in.
We're not in 15 yet.
Okay, I'm gonna go,
No,
I'm
it's
gonna go
been a
back
long
right
week.
here.
It's
I'm
been a
gonna go
long
back
week.
right here
It's
to my
good.
space.
Why
I'm
don't you
sorry.
just stay over
His
there?
water.
I can, he dumped it.
So I'd like to take 15A through O. A motion to move on that. Mr. Gallo, second by Ms. Conoco. Any comments on those items? No, just over, I'm going to abstain. Oh, just a minute when I get to my vote. Sorry, never mind.
It's been a long
It's been a long
week,
week,
Miss
it's been a long week.
I would just like to say I was happy to see 15L. The Legacy Meadows cell phone
Yes.
system, for many different.
15L will start going into place. That's the resolution for the upgraded cell service over at Lenape. That'll start first thing on Thursday morning. It will
Tomorrow
last
morning.
approximately
Or next week. Tomorrow morning.
tomorrow morning.
Yes.
There'll be 3 technicians in the building. We're figuring out, Carlos is working very closely with the principal to determine how that looks. That'll take approximately 12 days to complete.
And to the point from one of the questions from the audience before about, people wanting to know what we're doing in terms of security or technology, how are they going to know? It's on the agenda.
Well, and Kim,
That's
right,
right, that's what I
Things
said.
like this, you just read the agenda, things are going to pop up. And you may not know how they're going to work. You're going to see that we're making progress.
We are.
I'd like to. Go ahead. I'd like to comment on 15K. That's the IMAC Insurance Agency. This is something that we've been working on for a long time. I think this is really going to provide a lot of value for our teachers, for our administrators, for all of our district employees. I think that this is really going to be a good thing for everybody. So I'm excited to see that finally happen.
Great, thank you. Okay. Just take a roll call.
This will be a roll call again on 15A-0. Mr. Kazmarski.
Yes.
Ms. Conoco.
Yes.
Ms. Mavritish.
Yes.
Dr. Morthy.
Yes.
Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Yes.
Ms. Saccone.
Yes, but I'm abstaining on 15C.
Mr. De Silva.
Yes.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes, but I am abstaining on item 15A, check number 089807.
And Ms. Barron.
Yes, but I'm abstaining from 15C, the New Jersey School Board School Public Relations Forum. Thank you very much. Okay, may I have a motion to move on 15P, addendum 15P? This-
You need to
Read it.
Okay. And the addendum 15P is resolved that the Board of Education hereby affirms the HIB's specialist decision in the HIB appeal matter number MHS 171806S, which was heard during this evening's closed session. Be it further resolved that the Board Secretary is hereby directed to notify the parent of the Board's determination in this matter. Can we have a motion to move? Mr. Wendrikowitz, second by Mr. Kazmarski. Any discussions on this item? Everyone's good? Okay, would you please take roll call?
Mr. Kazmarski.
Yes.
Ms. Conoco.
Yes.
Ms. Mavritish.
Yes.
Dr. Morthy.
Yes.
Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Yes.
Ms. Saccone.
Yes.
Mr. De Silva.
Yes.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes.
And Ms. Barron.
Yes. I have 16A through J. May I have a motion to move on that? Mr. Wendrikowitz, second by Mr. Gallo. And I know that Dr. Schoen would like to say something.
I would, and
Is that a
if I...
stop sign?
No, I was raising my hand. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. No. I'd like to just refer everyone to Resolution 16A. 16A is, upon my recommendation, reluctantly, to accept the resignation of Christine Zimmerman, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction. And if you may, give me a minute. It is bittersweet to share that Ms. Christine Zimmerman, the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, will be retiring effective May 1st, 2018. Christine gave her heart and soul to the Mahwah School District for the last 13 years. She has worked as a principal in Lenape Meadows School and Betsy Ross School, where she built strong relationships with staff, students, and families. Christine embodies everything right about education. Her commitment to the student growth, teacher development, and overall district success was showcased on a daily basis. She led with her heart, and she approached her work with a sense of warmth and positivity. Over the last 5 years, she has served as our Director of Curriculum and Instruction. This has been a monumental task. She has led the district through unprecedented changes that have reshaped our educational landscape. Not only has she led, but she's also been the catalyst for instructional change throughout the district, rewriting curriculum, creating teacher-driven professional development, redesigning the teacher mentor program, and bringing in a K-12 mindful movement, to name a few. Her work ethic is unparalleled, and the district is a better place because of her. Her legacy in the district will be remembered as someone who had a thirst for new information, strived for excellence, and always put our students first.
We cannot put our gratitude into words, but are blessed and are grateful to have worked with her and wish her nothing but the very best as she takes time to enjoy her beautiful growing family. We will miss Christine greatly. And if not for some family matters, she certainly would have been with us this evening. But I wanted to publicly, we all did, as an administrative staff, recognize the great work that our Director of Curriculum Instruction and principal of our two buildings has done for us.
I concur.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Christine. Okay, so we have any other comments on 16A through J? And we all concur with Dr. Schoen about Ms. Zimmerman. Okay, could you take the roll call, please?
Mr. Kismarski?
Yes.
Ms. Conica?
Yes.
Ms. Mavritish?
Yes.
Dr. Morthy?
Yes.
Mr. Wendrikowitz?
Yes.
Ms. Saccone?
Yes.
Mr. De Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
And Ms. Barron?
Yes. Public questions or comments? This section of public participation will be limited to 15 minutes. Does anyone have anything else that they might have thought of or would like to come forward with? Ms. Slockbauer? Yes.
Who's she?
Yeah.
Evelyn Slockbauer, 43 Thunderhead Place. First, I'd like to say I'm going to miss speaking into Christine Zimmerman's ear and giving her lots of my thoughts.
I'm sure that she will miss that.
I don't know about that, but I had a thought about so these video games, you know, they glorify war, and you know how we have speakers come in about suicide, etc. But you know, I had a thought about some of our veterans coming in and speaking to the kids, the older kids, obviously, not the younger kids, but you know, to share some of their experiences, and you know, it's really not like that video game. It's nothing like that, and you know, I don't know if that's something that's possible or doable. But
It's an interesting thing to consider, Mrs. Slockbauer, and I think we're in the process of doing.
you know, and the high school has the mentoring program for some of the kids. Maybe they could institute a mentoring program at the middle school also.
Certainly something, and as you know, I'm keeping a list, so I'll be more than happy to include that as part of what it is that we begin to discuss as an administrative staff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Having had a son, a Marine, who served 2 terms in Fallujah and received a Purple Heart, they don't want to talk about it. He never talks about it. It was like that after Korean War, after Vietnam War, and World War II. So you're going to have a difficult time getting these kids to open up personal experience.
That's a good point, Peter, but like I said, we also have to gauge that and the educational value to it and what kind of impact it would have on our students. And to be quite honest with you, I've never even entertained it, so I wouldn't even have a thought as to which direction.
I'd imagine there's probably some presentations that are out there. We have the digitally distracted presentation, and I would imagine with all the video games, there probably are more presentations. Maybe the MMA, we could work in conjunction with them, or the Parent Academy could do something along those lines.
Oh, there's no doubt, but it's certainly something, the
to think
topic
of.
itself
All right.
is something to be vetted based on what you're saying, and you prefaced it with video games, so I understand that.
Thank you. All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
On a different note,
Okay, Mr. Wendrikowitz.
whose birthday is today?
Whose birthday is today? Yes, we're having the birthday club, so everyone will know. Now, we just implemented that today. Ms. Conica's
Right after
birthday
mine.
is today, so we all wish her a very happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Now, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Who do I submit my birthday list to?
Me, I'm keeping the list, so you can send it to me. Motion to adjourn, Ms. Conica, second by Mr. Gallo. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Hey,
So whose birthday don't I have? I don't have.
Hey.
June 2nd.
June
That's
2nd.
very important, I'll send you an email.
June 2nd.